A while back, I did a deep dive on flock safety and the license plate reader networks quietly popping up on poles at the entrance of your subdivision, your grocery store, and your kid's school. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it, because today's story is the sequel, and like most sequels, it's worse than the original. The TLDR of where we left off? America, and increasingly other countries too, are now blanketed in automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs. They photograph your car, extract your plate, your make, your model, your bumper stickers, and even your dents. They log it all in a searchable database with a timestamp and location. The legal justification for all this has always rested on one load-bearing sentence. We're tracking vehicles, not people. Well, international defense contractor Leonardo would like a word. In June of 26, the journalists at 404 Media obtained marketing materials for a product called SignalTrace Intelligence System. It's an add-on for license plate reader deployments, and instead of reading your plate, it reads you. Specifically, it sweeps up the unique wireless identifiers constantly leaking out of your phone, your smartwatch, your earbuds, your fitness tracker, and your car itself, and it pairs those identifiers with your license plate. The subhead on Leonardo's own brochure says the quiet part proudly: identify suspects through the electronic devices they carry. That load-bearing sentence about tracking vehicles and not people? They just blew it up and put it into the sales brochure. Welcome back to Dad Ruins Everything. Today I ruin SignalTrace, a standalone system that can easily make already too invasive ALPR networks into even more accurate people trackers. Let's start with who's selling this. Leonardo, in this context, is not a Ninja Turtle. It's also not a startup with a ping pong table, unlimited PTO, and sleep pods. No, Leonardo is one of the largest aerospace and defense companies on Earth. They build helicopters, naval guns, radar systems, and fighter jet components. At the time of this video, their market value is around 30 billion euros. And here's the fun part. Their largest shareholder, at roughly 30%, is the Italian government. So when your county sheriff buys this system, a meaningful slice of the money is flowing to a company partially owned by a foreign state. I'm not saying you need to think this is a problem, but it is something to think about. The American arm relevant to us is Leonardo US Cyber and Security Solutions, which sells license plate readers under the LSAG brand. And LSAG is not new to this game. They've been putting plate readers on American police cruisers for around 2 decades, long before Flock made surveillance a subscription product for your HOA. By the company's own count, its plate reader products have gone to nearly 4,000 customers across more than 25 countries at the local, state, and federal level. This wasn't an impulse product either. Back in May of 24, Leonardo announced a patent for something called LSAG EOC Plus, described as an electronic detection system for identifying people of interest through the signatures of the devices they carry. SignalTrace is that idea, grown up, productized, and printed on glossy paper. So no, this is not an annual hackathon project. This is a deliberate product line from a defense conglomerate that looked at the plate reader network America had already built and asked, what else can we do with these ALPR poles? So as far as what SignalTrace actually is, here's the pitch, stripped of the marketing gloss. SignalTrace is a sensor package that gets added to license plate reader deployments. While the camera photographs your plate, the sensors listen to the radio spectrum around your vehicle and collects identifiers from Bluetooth devices like phones, smartwatches, wireless earbuds, fitness trackers, laptops, tablets, and tracker tags. Wi-Fi radios, like your phone probing for known networks as you drive past. Vehicle systems, like the Bluetooth and wireless electronics built into the car itself, like your infotainment system. And RFID tags. These are things like access key cards. The marketing claim even name drops pet microchips, but I know enough about RFID to know that this claim is completely bogus. More on that in a minute. The system then does the actually dangerous part, correlation. Every capture is timestamped and paired against the plate read happening at the same moment. See the same phone, the same watch, and the same earbuds ride past 3 different sensors alongside the same plate, and the software concludes those devices belong to the same vehicle. Leonardo's material calls the result an electronic fingerprint, a unique trackable signature for investigative use. All of that feeds into the LSAG Enterprise Operations Center, their data management and analysis platform, where it's stored for future queries. Not just live alerts, future queries. Remember that phrase, because the retroactive search is where every one of these systems goes from being a tool into a time machine. And a few more details from their own materials that deserve your attention. The system can identify a person of interest even when no plate number is known. The devices become the identifier. It can reveal signatures that frequently travel together, surfacing convoys and travel patterns. That's association mapping. Your carpool is now a data product. It works with or without a plate reader at each site, and Leonardo explicitly markets it for non-traffic environments like rail stations, event venues, and shopping centers. That's right, this is not just a car thing. This is a walking around in public thing that happens to launch from car infrastructure. Leonardo, for their part, says that the system does not decrypt or read contents of your communications. It just collects identifiers your devices broadcast in the clear. LSEG has a lovely phrase for this: non-intrusive intelligence gathering. And that's true. It's also completely beside the point. In exactly the way a private investigator tailing you everywhere isn't reading your mail. Nobody has ever felt better upon learning that the guy parked in a car outside is non-intrusive. The company also says that the data is there for law enforcement investigations. What their materials do not mention anywhere is the word warrant. Leonardo did not respond to 404 Media's request for comment. I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. And I'm nobody, but I also sent Leonardo a request for comment, and they did not respond to me either. Now we can get to how it works, and it's time for the technical part, because you deserve to actually understand this instead of just being scared of it. Your pockets never shut up. Every wireless device you own announces itself constantly. Bluetooth low-energy devices transmit little advertising packets many times per second so other devices can find them. Your phone's Wi-Fi radio sends probe requests looking for networks it knows. Each transmission includes a hardware address that identifies the radio. A passive receiver on a pole doesn't have to hack anything, connect to anything, or break any encryption. It just listens. Your devices are standing on the street corner yelling their names, and SignalTrace is the guy with a clipboard writing them down. But Dad, my phone randomizes its MAC address. Well, maybe, sort of. Modern phones randomize the Wi-Fi address they use when probing for networks, and Bluetooth Low Energy has a privacy feature that rotates the advertised address, with the spec recommending a new one roughly every 15 minutes. On paper, that breaks the tracking. In practice, there are at least 3 problems. First, your phone is only half of the dance, and your accessories didn't get the memo. Classic Bluetooth, the flavor used by tons of earbuds, older wearables, and a whole lot of car infotainment systems, uses a fixed hardware address that never changes. Your phone might have the privacy features, but your earbuds are basically wearing a name tag. This tracking system doesn't need every device to be sloppy. It only needs one. Second, randomization can be defeated by fingerprinting. Security researchers have shown for years that the contents of advertising packets, transmission timing, quirks in how devices rotate addresses, and even the RF power characteristics of transmitter can link devices across as random identities. Randomization raises the cost of tracking. It does not eliminate it, especially for a well-funded system that sees you at multiple points and can correlate. Third, and this is the part that nobody wants to hear, the system doesn't need to track any single device perfectly because it has your plate as an anchor. The camera reads the plate. The sensor logs the 12 identifiers nearby. Do that at a handful of locations, and the set of devices that keeps intersecting with that plate is you, mathematically, even if the individual identifiers churn. This is exactly the correlation over time attack privacy engineers have been warning about since these radios were invented. Now the pet microchip thing, because this one kind of bugs me. The marketing material lists pet microchips among the RFID it can pull in. Door access cards fit into this low-frequency RFID group too. These chips can't be read outside of a few inches away, at best. That's why the vet has to press the wand right up against Aiko's body. A roadside sensor reading it through a car door at 45 miles an hour is just not possible. So that's the ridiculous claim. Now let me tell you about the item sitting in the same sentence of the brochure that's not ridiculous at all, and which I think is the single most important thing in this video. Your tires are the beacons. Well, not exactly your tires. Leonardo's material lists sensors in your tires. That's your TPMS, or the tire pressure monitoring system. And it's been federally mandated on new light vehicles in this country since 2007. Here's how direct TPMS actually works. There's a small battery-powered sensor that's part of the valve stem assembly for each of your 4 wheels. Every 30 to 120 seconds while you drive, it transmits pressure and temperature data by radio to your car's computer at 315 or 433 megahertz. Those transmissions are unencrypted, clear text, and every single one includes a unique 24 to 32-bit identifier because your car needs to know which tire is talking and needs to ignore the Camry in the next lane. That ID does not rotate. It does not randomize. It is fixed for the life of the sensor. And I'm not asking you to take my word for it. In early 26, researchers from IMDEA networks working with teams in Spain, Switzerland, and Luxembourg ran this exact experiment. They put 5 software-defined radios along a road, about $100 each, Raspberry Pi class hardware, the same stuff that we use to build projects on this channel. Over 10 weeks, they captured more than 6 million TPMS messages from roughly 20,000 vehicles. They wrote algorithms to associate the 4 tires of a single car with each other, then tracked verified vehicles across multiple monitoring points. Out came daily routines, regular routes, and inference about passengers and cargo weights. Read range lands somewhere around 40 meters, and it works without line of sight. Some Toyotas keep transmitting while parked. 5 Raspberry Pis and a coffee budget. That's what it took academics to build a working passive vehicle tracking network. Now picture a defense contractor doing it from poles your city already paid for. When you think about the common advice that people give, this nullifies it all. Turn off Bluetooth. Well, your tire pressure sensors don't care. Leave your phone at home. Again, the tire pressure sensors don't care. MAC randomization. Well, there's no MAC address, and it's not that kind of radio. A Faraday pouch. The transmitters are inside your wheels. There is no setting, there is no toggle, and the only fix is a new set of TPMS sensors. And congratulations, you just minted 4 fresh permanent identifiers. Some Volkswagens, Audis, low-end Teslas, Hondas, and Mazdas use indirect TPMS that infers pressure from the anti-lock brake wheel speed sensors and has no radio at all. TPMS of some sort has been required in the US since 2007. Many other countries phased it in the 2010s. Some older systems are indirect, but most people are driving around with 4 little radios. Notice what happened? The scary parts of this product never needed the silly parts to be true. Strip out the dog chip entirely and you're left with a system that pairs your phone in your pocket, the watch on your wrist, and 4 transmitters that you didn't know you owned to the plate of your car. So how widespread is this? Here's where I get to give you the one piece of genuinely good news in this video, followed immediately by the reason why it doesn't help much. The good news is that as of June 26, SignalTrace appears to be so new that there's no public evidence that any agency has actually deployed it at all. This is a product being marketed, caught at the brochure stage. Civil liberties groups are still winding up. The bad news is that the entire strategy of this product is that the hard part is already done. America spent the last decade installing the poles, the power, the cameras, the cellular backhaul, and the databases. Flock alone crossed 100,000 cameras in 26, and by one count, nearly 800 US cities signed new plate reader contracts in 26 alone. LSAG has its own multi-decade install base on top of that. SignalTrace isn't a surveillance network. It's an add-on accessory to an existing one. A sensor bolted to infrastructure your city already approved under a budget line that nobody will read, with none of the public debate a brand new people tracking system would trigger. That is the whole business model. Minimum friction, maximum capability creep. Which means that the map of where will this be is simple. Go look at dflock.org. See every plate reader near you and understand that each one of those is a pre-approved mounting point. But who wants this, and why? Let's steelman this properly, because the pitch to police is not stupid, and pretending it is would be lazy. Plates lie, devices don't. Criminals swap plates, steal plates, and run paper tags. The phone in a getaway driver's pocket doesn't know it's supposed to be anonymous. A device signature that survives a plate swap is genuinely useful for exactly the cases where plate readers fail. Cars don't commit crimes. People do. A plate identifies a registered owner. SignalTrace promises to identify who is actually in the vehicle in terms of drivers and passengers. Convoy detection. Organized retail theft crews, trafficking operations, and burglary rings travel in groups. Signatures moving together reveals the crew, not just one car. And this goes where plates can't. Transit stations, event venues, shopping centers. Leonardo pitches retail crime prevention as a use case, and retailers are absolutely a target. As I did in the Flock video, I will admit that this system can help solve some crimes. Real ones, with real victims. Somewhere down the line, a system like this will help find an actual kidnapper, and the vendor will put it on press release, and it will be true. The problem isn't that surveillance doesn't work. The problem is that it's indiscriminate and only works by collecting everyone. The kidnapper's phone and your kid's smartwatch land in the same database, logged by the same poll, retained under the same policy, and searchable by the same login. You cannot build a dragnet that only catches the guilty. That's what makes it a dragnet. Which brings us to the constitutional problem. But Dad, I haven't done anything wrong. I've had people literally and unironically tell me that they don't really care about their privacy. But the thing is, even if they wanted to waive their rights, systems like this don't check to see if you've opted out. Besides that, I've covered the whole nothing to hide fallacy in the Flock video. I'll go a level deeper into the actual legal machinery because SignalTrace lands right in the middle of a fight that's happening in courtrooms right now. The firewall this product burns down. Every time a plate reader network has been challenged, ALPR apologists make the same two moves. Move 1. Your car is public, and plates exist to be seen. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy. Plain view. Case closed. Move 2. Even if the network is big, it tracks vehicles, which is a step removed from tracking people. The Fourth Amendment protects the right of people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects. Courts have spent a decade arguing about where a plate database falls on that spectrum. But a system whose sales brochure literally advertises identifying people through the devices they carry, their effects on their persons, has helpfully removed the ambiguity. It's not tracking your car anymore, it's tracking the computer strapped to your body. Which brings us back to mosaic theory. A quick recap from last time. In United States versus Jones, the Supreme Court said that slapping a GPS tracker on a car requires a warrant. In Carpenter versus United States in 2018, the court said police needed a warrant for historical cell phone location records because a comprehensive log of your movements reveals what the court called the privacies of life. Even a week was enough. One data point of you in public is nothing. Thousands of points, aggregated and searchable, are a GPS tracker assembled retroactively. That's the mosaic theory, and SignalTrace is a mosaic appliance. It exists to aggregate. Now, add the association layer. The First Amendment protects not just your speech, but your right to associate. And the Supreme Court recognized way back in the NAACP cases that forced disclosure of who associates with whom chills that right. A convoy analysis engine that flags which devices travel together is an association disclosure machine pointed at everyone. The protest you attended, the church van, the union meeting, the AA group, the journalist source who made the mistake of riding in the passenger seat. Is that too abstract for you? In November of 25, the EFF reported that more than 50 agencies had already used plate reader systems to track protest activity. Not devices, not phones, just plates. That happened with the dumb version of this technology. And a separate EFF analysis in May of 26 found agencies running Flock searches for things like school residency checks and background checks. Stolen cars, remember? That was the pitch. So no, the chilling effect isn't a slippery slope argument, it's a changelog. And because the database is retroactive, it inverts the whole logic of investigations. The traditional order is suspicion first, then surveillance, with the judge in between. Retroactive dragnets flip it. Surveillance of everyone first, suspicion whenever, and the judge is completely optional. Become interesting to someone with a login, politically, personally, romantically, and your past movements are already sitting there, pre-collected. Which puts us in a statutory vacuum. Here's the part that should genuinely bother you. There's no federal law that squarely prohibits law enforcement from harvesting Bluetooth and Wi-Fi identifiers from the public airwaves. Wiretap-era statutes were written around the contents of communications, and these identifiers are broadcast in the clear. Meanwhile, the state laws that do regulate plate readers were written about exactly that. Plate data, images of plates, retention of plate reads. A device identifier isn't a plate, so in most states, this is a brand new category of collection that arguably falls outside of the definitions entirely. That's not a loophole. That's a product market fit. Of course, some people are fighting for our rights, and 2026 has been the most interesting year for this fight in a decade. Here's a summary of the scoreboard. Schmidt versus the City of Norfolk. In October of 24, two Virginia residents, backed by the Institute for Justice, sued Norfolk over its network of roughly 175 flock cameras, arguing citywide warrantless tracking violates the Fourth Amendment. In January of 26, a federal judge ruled for the city. But read how he ruled. Judge Mark Davis wrote that the plate reader surveillance could become intrusive enough to cross the constitutional line, and that the answer in Norfolk was, quote, not today. 51 pages that boil down to this. The network, at this size, with Virginia's 21-day retention cap, squeaks by, for now. He explicitly warned that as camera counts and capabilities expand, that balance could flip. The plaintiffs appealed to the Fourth Circuit, and in April of 26, the ACLU, EFF, and EPIC all filed briefs backing them. That appeal is live as I record this. And then the Supreme Court dropped the bomb. On June 29, 26, weeks after SignalTrace surfaced, the court decided Chatrie versus United States, its first major digital surveillance ruling since Carpenter. Chatrie is about geofence warrants, police drawing a shape around a crime scene and making Google cough up every device inside of it. The court held, 6-3, that obtaining a person's phone location data is a Fourth Amendment search. Full stop. You have a reasonable expectation of privacy and records of your phone's location, even though a third party holds them, and even for a limited window of time. Gorsuch went further, calling that data your personal property, your effects, in a constitutional sense. Why does that matter here? Because the government's defense in these cases has always been, it's only a little data. Norfolk won partly by arguing 21 days across 175 cameras isn't comprehensive enough to count. Chatrie just said that the size of the slice isn't the shield they thought it was. Every plate reader case on appeal, and every future SignalTrace case, now gets argued in a world where the Supreme Court has said that device-generated location records are constitutionally protected. Period. A system whose entire purpose is warehousing device signatures paired with timestamped locations is going to have a very awkward conversation with that precedent. Meanwhile, in the lower courts, EFF and ACLU affiliates sued San Jose in late 25 over its warrantless plate reader program. In California, the state's ALPR Privacy Act carries statutory damages of $2,500 per violation, and it produced at least 5 class actions. Other courts have gone the other way. Flock likes to point out that dozens of courts have blessed fixed plate readers, which is true, and it's also why people not plates upgrade matters legally. Every one of those wins was built on the vehicle versus person distinction that SignalTrace exists to erase. Nobody has sued SignalTrace itself yet because you can't sue a brochure, but the legal artillery is already ranged on these coordinates. Now here's the question I get a lot. Is this even legal where I live? And the maddening answer is it depends on which invisible line you drove across in the last 10 minutes. County to county, state to state, your protection against this stuff varies wildly. As I mentioned before, Virginia caps the plate data retention at 21 days. Kentucky passed the 90-day cap in 2026. Colorado now requires a warrant before agencies share plate data with the feds. Washington passed the Driver Privacy Act restricting bulk sharing. Connecticut signed its first comprehensive plate reader law in May of 26. Retention limits, a ban on sharing data for immigration, reproductive care or gender-affirming care investigations, and interstate sharing restricted to a short list of neighbors. Illinois already banned using plate data for immigration or abortion enforcement, and that law is the only reason anyone caught Customs and Border Protection accessing Illinois cameras through a Flock pilot program that Flock's own leadership claimed not to know about. Evanston and Oak Park terminated their contracts over it. California gives you the ALPR Privacy Act and its class action teeth. Maine and New Hampshire are among the strictest in the country. And what about the rest of the map? Well, for a whole lot of the states, nothing. No retention limit, no sharing rules, no audit requirement. The policy is whatever the vendor default is, plus the personal restraint of whoever has the login. Yeah, trust that. Drive across the country and you'll pass through countless legal regimes. The database, of course, doesn't care. Data pooled from a strict state flows through sharing agreements into permissive ones, which is how a Texas officer ended up searching cameras across the country looking for a woman over reproductive health care that was legal where she got it. Your rights are determined by your least protective network partner, and we are running mass surveillance on the honor system, and the honor keeps losing. People are pushing back, and somewhere between 50 and 80 cities have canceled Flock contracts, depending on who's counting, from Austin to Evanston to tiny Bandera, Texas. And in the same year, hundreds more signed up. That's the patchwork in one sentence. Country to country, the contrast is highly visible. The UK runs plate reading as a national system, billions of reads into a central database with roughly 12-month retention. It's more centralized than in the US, which is bad, but it's governed by published national standards, which is more than most American counties can say. And in the European Union, device identifiers like MAC addresses are legally personal data. Indiscriminate, suspicionless harvesting of them by the state runs headfirst into GDPR-era data protection law, and Europe's top court has repeatedly struck down blanket collect-it-all retention schemes. Leonardo, a company whose largest shareholder is a European government, is selling to the American police a capability that would be legally radioactive across much of Europe. The US is the permissive market. It's the country where it's the easiest. Land of the Free is doing some heavy lifting lately. If you've been with this channel a while, you already know that this isn't an isolated story because I keep telling the same story with different logos in the thumbnails. Your smart TV fingerprints what you watch, your phone's apps hemorrhage location data into a broker economy that anyone with a checkbook can query. Your employer's bossware screenshots your desktop. Ring put a camera on every porch and a sharing portal in every police department. Flock put a plate reader at every subdivision entrance. Data brokers repackage cell location pings for police who'd rather buy data than get a warrant. Geofence warrants turned Google into a suspect generation machine until the Supreme Court finally stepped in last month. Every single one of these arrived with the same 3-part sales pitch. It's only metadata. You're in the public anyway. And think of the criminals we'll catch. And each of those follows the same life cycle, which I want you to learn to recognize because it's the pattern of modern privacy erosion. Step 1 is to build an infrastructure for a narrow, sympathetic purpose. Stolen cars, missing kids. Step 2, normalize it. Let it fade into the streetscape until challenging it seems paranoid. Step 3, upgrade the capability on the existing footprint. No new public debate required, because the polls are already there and the contract already exists. Step 4, broaden the access. Task forces, federal partners, private customers, and sharing defaults. Step 5, discover the abuses afterward. The stalking cop, the immigration pilot program nobody approved, and the abortion search across state lines. SignalTrace is at step 3. It's happening in front of us, in real time, in a brochure. The plate reader network was the beachhead. Device harvesting is the payload. And whatever comes after SignalTrace, and something will bolt onto its footprint, and we'll be told it's just a modest extension of what we've already accepted. That's the ratchet. It only turns one way, unless people grab the handle. All right, deep breath. Refill the caffeine. Here's the part where I refuse to end on despair, because despair is exactly what makes step 2 of the ratchet work. First is the personal layer, RF hygiene. I'll be straight with you. Individual countermeasures are a rearguard action here, not a solution. But you should still understand your own emissions profile because right now most people have no idea that they even have one. So take inventory. Phone, watch, earbuds, fitness band, tracker tags, laptop in the bag, the car's own infotainment radios, the toll transponder in the windshield. Everyone is a broadcaster. Keep your phone's OS updated and its Wi-Fi and Bluetooth privacy features on. Randomization isn't perfect, but free imperfect protection still beats none. When you actually want Bluetooth off, turn it off in settings. On iPhones especially, the quick toggle in the control center doesn't fully power down the radios the way you'd think. Your accessories are the leak. Classic Bluetooth earbuds and older wearables broadcast fixed identifiers forever. The only fix for a Chatrie device is leaving it home, and I know you won't, but at least know you're choosing it. Your toll transponder is designed to be read at range. That's the whole product. Many ship with a foil bag for a reason, and you can use it when you're not tolling. Airplane mode is the only real off switch for the phone, and even that does nothing about your passenger's earbuds, and nothing you do touches the TPMS, which is exactly the point. You cannot settings menu your way out of the dragnet. That was true for Flock, and it's more true here. Your tire pressure sensors are the proof. Second, the layer that actually works is the collective one, and here for once the timing is on our side. Remember, SignalTrace is at the brochure stage. Despite what some of the videos have been saying, this hasn't actually saturated the country yet, which means the fight isn't happening on some appeals court a decade from now. It's happening at procurement. In city council meetings, in sheriff's budget line items, this is the rare surveillance story where showing up early is still possible. Ask the question before it's bought. Email your council member, your county commissioners, your sheriff. Does our plate reader contract permit sensor add-ons or so-called signal intelligence modules? And will any such upgrade require a public vote? Make them answer on the record. File public records requests for your local plate reader contracts, data sharing settings, retention policies, and audit logs. This stuff folds fast in daylight. Most of the city cancellations you just heard about started with a handful of residents and a records request. Push for laws that regulate the identifier, not the camera. The definitional gap is the vulnerability. Demand your state statutes cover device signatures, RF collection, and derived location data with retention caps, warrant requirements, sharing restrictions, and mandatory audits. The ACLU published model legislation in early 26 you can literally hand to a legislator. Support a local surveillance oversight ordinance requiring a public council vote before police adopt any new surveillance technology or capability. That single rule converts Step 3 of the ratchet from a firmware update into a public debate. It's the highest leverage local law in the entire space. Map your area at dflog.org and the EFF's Atlas of Surveillance. DFLOG is crowdsourced and open source, and it recently added the ability to route around camera locations, which is either a useful tool or a beautiful piece of protesting art. And I'm honestly fine with either. Support the people doing the legal heavy lifting too. The Institute for Justice, the EFF, the ACLU, and EPIC are carrying the Norfolk appeal and the post-Chatrie fights for all of us. And if your community does debate one of these systems, show up. Bandera, Texas killed theirs. Austin killed theirs. Evanston killed theirs. Not one of those happened because of a settings menu. It happened because rooms filled with people who had done the reading. And to finish, SignalTrace is not science fiction. It's also not inevitable. It's a real product from a real defense contractor sitting in sales meetings right now, built on one insight. America already said yes to the polls, so nobody will notice what gets bolted on next. The entire premise only works if you don't notice. Well, congratulations. You're one of the people that's noticed. Share this with anyone you think might care about being spied on, and we're one step closer to being ahead of the punch in a way that we haven't been with ALPRs. Every claim in this video is sourced on the citations link in the description so you can check my work. And you should, because that habit is the whole point of this channel. If you found this useful or interesting, hit like and subscribe to my channel. If you want to support my work, please hype the video and consider becoming a member. I'm not a big deal, so it's still pretty cheap. And if you like what I'm doing, there are expensive tiers too. And speaking of members, I want to thank new members on the screen for their support. Have a great and SIGINT elusive day.